ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
It was an interesting day because as I was driving to pick up my daughter from school, I noticed there was something on my windshield.
Yeah.
I wasn't really quite sure what it was.
Uh-huh.
I had a closer look and they were like small little round things on my windshield, and I looked even closer and I noticed it was water.
Oh.
It was raining?
I was wondering where it was coming from because it's a rare sight in California. I looked up.
And it actually was raining?
Raining. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
For a moment, I had to collect my thoughts and think, what is that? What's the word for that?
Oh, I remember quite a few rainstorms in my youth.
And then it kind of actually got heavier and poured, and I think it was even on the news. And so yesterday was a very cold day in Southern California.
It was on the news, huh?
So it really happened. Wasn't just
really
Nicole hallucinating.
So, because we were, before the broadcast, we were talking about rain and how it is very much, or has been very much a part of my life, because I lived in probably one of the, rainiest parts of North America.
Mm-hmm.
And coming down here, it's like dry as a bone. So,
Well, you moved to the desert, lady. What do you want?
no, what was I thinking? Anyway, we should get started with the podcast, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Sounded like the beginning of a landslide just there.
Oh,
Hear that? Okay. All right. Go right ahead. Ignore me.
hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Nicole Eridix, and I am here today thinking about the rain yesterday and wishing it would rain again today. Ready to bust out my umbrella. As soon as it starts. With me today are Terri Morrow.
Hello. We've had some rain here recently in New Jersey, but I wish that some weather phenomena would occur that would wipe the air clean of whatever is blooming right at the moment, because it is exactly the thing that I am horribly hay fevery allergic to. I would like it to go away immediately.
Well,
I shall try not to sneeze compulsively over the course of this podcast.
actually, that's one thing that I
But I
don't
can't
miss.
promise.
I don't miss that by living in the desert because there's not much to bloom.
Yeah.
Catherine, how about you? You are here with us today as well.
Yes, and my son's whole class, his house at his school, so somewhere around 100 kids, went on a camp out yesterday, and sure enough, it did pour during the night. Major thunderstorms and everything during the night, and so we got a little text from the teacher this morning that just said, "We're dirty and wet, but we had a great time." So we'll see how that went.
Actually,
Yeah.
sometimes dirty and wet can be a good time. If it's
Well, yeah, especially if you're
for boys.
11-year-old boy.
Exactly. I
Well,
was just remembering a time in California, in my California youth, that it poured, and I lived across the street from my middle school, and we would walk across, go through a gate, and then we had to cross this huge field before we got to the school building. And I remember walking home one time in just a torrential rainstorm, which they do have in California sometimes, occasionally.
Sometimes, yeah.
And we just, we were so drenched that we just started playing around in it and sliding in the mud and just rolling around. And I remember that as a good time. Probably my mother was not so happy when she saw me walk in the door, but
Well,
when you're the right age, that can be fun.
Yes.
that's right. It's one of those memories that you'll look back on and say, remember when?
I would not enjoy it so much now.
No. Well, today on the podcast, we are not going to be talking anymore about rain, but about valuing our work at home routines. Yes, please.
Yes.
We are going to discuss how we store our kids' treasures like artwork and medals, shout out some stuff that we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and hear an interview with Kathy Ceceri about her new book, Edible Inventions. But first, what's new with you guys? I haven't talked to you in how many days?
It's been whole days.
What's new in your world?
Oh,
Terri?
working. Nothing
Working.
much. Nothing much new. I did go, we discussed high school football a few speed rounds ago, and I did actually go to a high school football game on Friday night. And it'll be a week ago Friday by the time people are listening to this podcast. And it was very enjoyable. We got there just in time to watch the band do its pregame thing. We got hot dogs and chips and consumed them. We enjoyed the halftime show and we went home. So we were basically there for the band. But there were some football plays, and there was somebody behind me who knew football and who could explain what was happening, which is always helpful. And
Yeah.
Our team won. They were ahead when we left, and they continued to expand their lead while we were gone. So that's just the perfect high school football outing. You go there, you have some junk food, you watch a halftime show, and you go home.
And the weather has to be good.
And the weather has to be good.
Yeah.
It was actually not bad. We wore shorts and t-shirts, and I thought we're going to be freezing by the end of this, but it was fine.
So
The lady
quick
behind
question-
me was wrapped in a blanket, but I was.
She must be from California.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure she's a longtime New Jersey resident, but I guess different people have different tolerances for cold.
I have a quick question before. Sorry, Catherine, I'm just going to jump in because it's been a burning question that I've had since we talked about football games last week, I think it was. What is the term Friday Night Lights, and where did that come from?
It was a TV show.
This is my naive Canadian.
There's a beloved TV show called Friday Night Lights that's all about football in Texas.
And before it was a TV show, it was a movie. And I believe before it was a movie, it was a book.
Oh.
So is it an actual term that people use, or it's just they're referring to this?
I guess they're referring to the way that games are usually on Friday nights, and they're played under lights, and it's such a big, as we talked about, it can be such an enormous part of a community's fabric.
Okay.
Yes. But that particular TV show is beloved by many.
Yes.
And so, and particularly, I'm trying to think of the right word, painted the high school football experience in a very moving way. And so I think people associate it with that and probably have then adapted that to their own experience.
Okay.
I would guess. But last night, my daughter asked me what a gridiron was, and I had to go look that up on Wikipedia to find out why do they call a football field a gridiron.
And
I
what
guess
did you
it's-
learn? Because I don't know.
Because it has lines, I guess. Basically, it just, you look up gridiron and it says a football field. So
Oh,
that's not
thanks.
really helpful. But I think it has something to do with the lines on it. Listeners, if you're sitting listening to this podcast going, they're so wrong. I know, it's this. Please tweet us.
tell us.
Or
Yeah.
comment on our Facebook page, send us an email at parentingroundabout@gmail.com. We would love to be set straight, and we will mention your answer in a future podcast just to, or onto our show notes, just to clear things up.
Yes.
Exactly. Catherine, how about you? Do you have anything
New and
interesting
exciting.
other than football?
Other than anticipating the return of my wet child.
Yes.
Oh,
Wet.
his ear.
Dirty.
Ugh.
Well, they flat out told us, you don't need to send any shampoo or anything because they won't be showering. And they said you can send pajamas if you want, but none of them will wear them.
Oh my goodness. How long is he away at this?
It was just one night.
Oh
so.
my. Do you have a quarantine area in the backyard for his return?
Stop
That's
and
the
drop.
We are sending your child home wet, muddy, unshowered,
Probably hungry.
Hungry. Enjoy, Mom and Dad.
And having been deprived of their electronics for almost 48 hours.
Ow.
Don't get between that kid and his iPad.
Put it like a little him for another 48 hours, Catherine. He'll be holding up his phone.
What he doesn't know is that he has to tag along with me as I travel to not one but two ice rinks this evening.
Oh my.
Carpooling. So yeah, he's gonna be thrilled. But you know, I'm bringing the iPad. There's Wi-Fi at the rink, and he wouldn't be doing anything differently if he were at home than he can do while sitting there. So that's anyway, wish me luck.
Good luck.
Well, speaking of being someplace away from what you are accustomed to, be it showers or pajamas or your electronics, today we thought we would talk a little bit about the extreme upsettingness of messing with our routines. I have kids who really like their routine, and I always use them as an excuse, that we can't do things to upset their routine. It would be very bad, but in fact, I enjoy my routine also. And I am coming off a summer where absolutely everybody in my house was home. My office for my freelance business is in the middle of the living room. Boundaries were not respected. So my daughter has a TV in her room, but she would come out and sit here and watch TV in the living room. And I'm like, happy to be in the same room with you, sweetheart. Love you very much. Go away. Right. So my routine has been disrupted majorly. This week also, I have this freelance job, which I'm supposed to be able to do at home, but my boss just decided that I should come into the office for a couple of times, which is like, yeah, it's only a few hours in the office, but I spent 6 hours yesterday away from my home office. 3 of them I was working. The other 3 I was getting to and coming home from there. Right. 3 hours I got paid for. 3 hours, the other 3 hours I had to pay for transportation. Right. This is an upsetting of my routine that I do not enjoy. And it's, we have our way of doing things, right? When you work as a freelancer, you have your way of doing things. Perhaps it involves several hours on the internet looking up Lin-Manuel Miranda tweets. Perhaps it does not. But still, it's a certain way that you're used to doing things that when you have to go someplace else or do something differently, it just all falls apart. So how do you guys do with your routines? Do you have a particular daily or weekly routine for your work life? Are you flexible with it? Do you get all discombobulated if you have to do something differently? How about you, Catherine? What is your routine like? And and is it respected by those you love?
No. Well, because, especially it was, as you say, it was especially bad in the summertime because the kids were home and, they can't drive. So anything, can I go here? Can I see this friend? I have to skate, whatever it was, I'm there, I'm driving them, Yes. Mm-hmm. And I can at least sort of during the workday sometimes get away with like, look, I'm working here. but it's very hard for them to see that I'm working and appreciate the fact that that's what's happening. And then it also drives me crazy like in the evenings, Yeah. Well, I need to go, hey, can we go to Walgreens, or I want to go to this football game or whatever it is. And, I haven't figured out how to not feel guilty saying like, you know what? No, I cannot drive another mile today.
Yes, it is awful.
Can't. Yeah. So, but in terms of my work routine, I sit down and plan it out about a month at a time. Mm-hmm. And these are the deadlines I have, and this is when I'm going to accomplish each thing. And sometimes works. I just, that at least helps me, if someone comes to me and says, can you do X or Y? And I can sort of look at my calendar and think, all right, well, if I can finish this by this date, then I can do that by that date, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that doesn't account for, oh, I'm sick today, or, oh, I forgot, my clarinet and I need it.
Yeah.
And, or whatever it is, or suddenly someone needs a doctor's appointment or all that stuff. So I do try to build in some padding in there. I have at least learned how to do that, but I really value the alone time, and we've talked about this here on the podcast of working at home alone, which is why the summer was hard, and which is why those days where my husband's like, I have just phone calls all day, so I'm going to do them from home. Like, no, just go to your office. You haven't.
Terrible to be that way.
Yes.
It's like this summer, everybody in my house was unemployed. Now everybody's getting back to work my husband's back to work and my kids both got jobs. So I'm going to get that time back, I hope, to some degree, but I really miss it. And I mean, a couple of times I've gone down into the basement to work, and then it seems hostile. It's like I need to announce, I'm not mad at anybody. I'm not going to sulk. Just need to have some quiet.
Yes.
And they still don't. They still think I'm ticked because they made noise or something.
And my husband feels really dissed whenever I'm like, oh, you're here.
Just sometimes you need the cone of fortress of solitude or whatever.
Yes, because he will, I had to tell him to stop, and he did stop, but take conference calls on speakerphone. Like, you don't want to be in that meeting. I certainly don't want to be in that meeting. Like, I do not need to listen to this right now, please. Or he'll come and sit right at the same table where I am, or he'll be puttering around in the kitchen singing to himself. I'm like, oh my gosh, please. I'm trying to work, which may mean I'm trying to watch something on Facebook, but please, I can't hear it.
Yeah, it's like, you have to hide things on your computer the way you would if you were in an office.
Exactly. I think that's part of the problem.
Yes. It's like, this may look like I am just watching a YouTube video, but it's tangentially related to work, really, honestly.
Right.
How about you, Nicole? How do you do with this? Do you have a routine, and does your family play fast and loose with it?
Well, I'm still fairly new to the work at home world. I've been home for the last couple of years, but have just started to pick up more work, which means that I actually have to have some kind of a routine in order to get these things done, which my family has absolutely no regard for whatsoever. My daughter is just absolutely mortified when I tell her that I'm, working on something and I'm busy and I can't help her. She's, her jaw drops to the floor. What? Not available right now for me? And I love, so having been at home for the last couple of years, while I did work in a school for many years and enjoyed that, I really like being at home and on my own and having my own space. So yeah, when I have my kids or, my daughter in the summer, or my husband, like Catherine's, decides to stay home for the day, I'm very kind of like, oh, there goes my day. I kind of resign myself to the fact that anything that I want to do that day is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because as low key as it is when he's home, because he's usually just sitting at his, in his area working, it's still like, oh, should we have a coffee? Why don't you make us a coffee? Or, oh, should we go out for lunch? Or, oh, it's aggravating.
Yeah.
As horrible as that sounds.
I know, because
They're
the
all
whole
terrible
point
people.
is that we work from home so that we can be available to the family. And yet, anytime they get in our way.
Yeah. I mean,
Stop
that's
it.
why my office is in the middle of the living room. I used to work in my bedroom, and then it seemed really hostile, like I was never with anybody. So I was out here, so I'm kind of in the middle of things. But then, could you all be quiet and go in your rooms now?
Right.
There's some
Right.
things I can work through. Like if my husband's watching a baseball game, that's fine. I can work through that. But if he's watching like a TV show with lots of dialogue and action and stuff, I can't.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
If my daughter's watching some HGTV thing, I can work through it. But if she's watching one of her Disney channels, I can't. So, and if the music's loud from a bedroom, it's difficult. I try putting my headphones on and that works sometimes, but sometimes I just need silence.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's difficult.
You need the Stephen Thompson music to edit by.
I do, but it's on Spotify, right? And I'm
I
not
don't
on
know.
that. I need to maybe get back on that. I quit them when they dissed Taylor Swift. I
Oh.
cut off all association, and then I joined Apple Music, for which I actually pay. So
Well, right. You wouldn't want to be paying for
for something
doing
else.
another thing to
Yeah.
sign up for and whatever if you already have.
Speaking
Apple
of things
Music.
that we sign up for, do you guys have any like tools that you use to regulate your routine? I am, as with journals, as we discussed a while back, I often find the thing that is going to keep me organized and keep my routine running just perfectly, and I use it for like 3 weeks and then I lose interest. So lately I've been using something called Wunderlist, I think, which kind of gives you a checklist. And that's, I set it all up to set my goals for the day, and then I stopped. So, I mean, the one thing I do like is that I have with Dropbox that I can work on different computers at different times, and I can go work someplace else. If my kids need to go someplace, I can work, and I have all my stuff there. As long as there is, so that's been really easy. But other than that, I'm having a problem finding anything that works. Do you guys have any secrets or tricks?
Not really. I mean, I started using my calendar, my monthly, planning thing when I just felt like I couldn't keep track of deadlines very well. And so that keeps track of my deadlines for me. So I live by that.
Yeah.
And my TV watching and working out schedule is important. That's how I get through the TV that we watch for round 2.
That's true. That's good.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, that's when I am on the treadmill watching TV.
Yeah.
So, and I do not appreciate when that gets messed up. But I need to watch my show.
Yes. It's work, really.
Forget about the value of exercise. I need to watch my show.
One thing I did for deadlines, because I edit book manuscript, and a number of times I just completely missed deadlines. And I started putting the deadline like in the title of the folder that the thing is in. So that every time I open it, I see that deadline.
Oh.
And that's been really helpful. And then, before I turn it in, I take it out. But
Right.
it's there. So every time I go look at the projects I have, I see the deadlines. And I use Inbox for Gmail. And when I get an email with the assignment, I snooze it to the day that it's due. So that email pops up on the day that it's due in case I forget. So those have been really helpful.
I remember you telling me about that inbox feature, which sounds really good.
That's really nice.
That's kind of my whatever's pending is always just in my inbox, and it may be something that I don't need for a while, but I know if I file it, then it's gone forever.
Absolutely, this is really useful because you can snooze it and then have a date that it's going to come back into your inbox. So you can do it the day that it's due, or if you want it to come in a few days before it's due to remind you. Those are really useful for deadlines. Nicole, do you have any tricks that you found for keeping yourself organized or on routine? Do you use a date book or an organizer? Do people still use those, like the Filofaxes and that sort of thing? I have bought a large number of them, and I use them for 2 months.
Well, I still have a bit of carryover from my teaching days when I would use a large monthly calendar and write things down in it because I like to look ahead. by the month and see what I've got going on.
Yeah.
So I still write things down. And then I'm also starting to rely more on my iCal calendar on my Mac.
I have never warmed to that, but I suppose
No,
that's
me
something I
either.
should look back over.
I do. Because you can color code things, and like it's good for letting my husband know what's happening because he uses it as well. So I can share events with him, and it'll just go to his calendar.
I think the problem I have with those things is that I have like a certain number of things that I do every day. And so I would just have to like repeat the item for every day, and then it somehow gets out of hand. And if you ever need to change something, it's this mass of stuff. It's like I divide my projects by a certain number of pages a day. And so I have to get through each of those, and I have to do the relentless tweeting for this podcast every day. And so I need something that you check it off and then it pops up the next day. And I haven't really found that.
Right.
I'm sure there's something.
I don't know. I've tried like various apps that help you stay organized, but I never seem to follow through with them. I get them all set up, and then
Yes.
and then I
This
just
is
never
my
seem
problem,
to
exactly.
keep up with it. I think iCal is the only one that I've really managed to keep up with. But I'm still writing out daily lists and to do kind of things on scrap pieces of paper, carrying it around in my purse. They're not technologically advanced.
Sadly, I wind up just mostly keeping stuff in my head, and that is not an efficient system. So, listeners, if you have a really good thing for maintaining a routine, preferably something free, because we all try these things out and use them for 2 months and then never use them again. So you don't want to be locked into, you know what? Maybe it's like Weight Watchers that you have to be paying it every month.
If you're paying
and
for it,
that makes you do it. This is a possibility. So reasonably priced solutions will be considered. But what do y'all like for routines? I don't know. I feel like that my life would be so much better if I could find a way to really be organized the way you are if you go into an office and you have a set number of hours to do things. I just like work like 18 hours a day. Do you guys do that too? Or do you have a delineation between the end of your workday and the beginning of your evening?
No.
I do pretty much, because I used to work
good.
more in the evenings, and I finally realized it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And I mean, almost every day from like 3 until 8, I'm running around anyway. So I couldn't. And then after that, it's like, oh, okay, now let's try to spend some time with whoever I wasn't just running around with.
Yeah, so. I would like to be able to do that. My routine has gotten out of control, but I feel like, if you had something that was very regimented, that was down on paper in a book, or that was down on an app, and you could say, this is my day, these are my hours, then people would believe that you actually are working and not watching Hamilton videos all day.
It's like keeping a food diary. You need to keep a time log.
I do.
Really?
I probably do. Have you guys ever used a time log? Because I know there's all sorts of things like that for freelancers, but they always seemed way more complicated, because I'm not billing clients necessarily.
Right. It would just be for your own edification. Yeah. I haven't. I mean, you could just do it on this Excel spreadsheet.
You theoretically could, but
I just think it would be like the way it would help you regulate your time, just the same way that keeping track of your eating helps you.
It would. It probably would, or else it would depress me to see how much time I waste in what I feel is like a relentless day.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, well.
Well, should we move on to something
We should move on to something less depressing.
Well, for our special Friday speed round, Amanda joined us for a discussion about all the precious things that our precious children bring into our homes, and how
show me that later. I'm busy working right now.
I'm working. I will pencil you in for 4:00. So we talked about all these things and how we cope with them or not.
Okay, so I'm from Canada, and in Canada everybody wins. So We have a lot of
that's
trophies.
that's their get everybody to come to Canada line, right?
Yeah, well,
In Canada, everybody wins.
It would be impolite to tell people they've lost, right? So
exactly.
just have to say good job.
We don't want to appear better than anybody else. We just know that we're better inside. To tell anybody else. So anyway, all things aside, we have lots of ribbons and trophies and whatnot from our years up there. The kids have had a few down here. What do you guys do with all that stuff? I mean, I kind of let it just hang on the wall and gather dust until I get tired of looking at it, and they get tired of looking at it, and then it goes in a box.
That way you don't have to dust it either.
I don't have to dust. Yeah, so like medals, trophies, art, event T-shirts. Like, what do you do with all that? Catherine, you must have a plethora of that stuff. 'Cause your kids are sports kids.
Right. Yeah. My daughter, especially for skating, has many ribbons, medals, and trophies. Right now, they are mostly displayed in her room. We have some special hangers that go on the wall that have like letters, and then they have little hooks that you can hang the medals from. I'll have to show you a picture, I think.
Yes.
Of that, and you know, the trophies are like so cheap, and which I know because, you know, our club buys them too for when we have events. But she still likes them. She still wants them. And so far we're able to fit them in her room. You know, the T-shirts get to me because, you know, both of my kids, every time they go to an event, a tournament of some kind, they think they need to have the T-shirt that goes with it. And I'm like, oh my God, we already have so many T-shirts, and these ones are so expensive, and, you know, you got to wait in a big long line in order to get them screen printed, and, you know, bleh.
And they're often really weird colors, right? Like,
well, the thing now, the popular thing now is tie-dye. And
I've seen that.
So, you know, I think they're not my favorite. But they charge more for them. So, you know, good for good for the event organizer or the T-shirt sellers. But yeah, and artwork is another one. Like, I hate to throw it away. We have a couple things framed. If they're really special, I'm able to get them framed. And then we have some bin, you know, those like big plastic totes, and we throw stuff in there. Although first we throw it in a corner and then eventually it goes in the bin. But right now we haven't put anything in a bin for a really, really long time. So it's a problem.
Yeah.
And we don't even live in Canada. Amanda, what do you do with all of your goodies?
Well, my kids don't participate in a lot of things that get medals and trophies, so, you know, I guess I don't have to worry about that. But we do have like all these weird event T-shirts and like camp T-shirts and things like that. And I think you must get a, you know, some of these places must get a discount on the weirdest colors ever, because, you know, like my kids glow in the dark in some of these shirts.
Yeah.
But they like to wear them, so I just like, you know, they just wear them until they wear out or somehow get lost in the country.
Right.
Oops. But it's the artwork and schoolwork and stuff that I am overwhelmed by. You know, it's I still have a little one, you know, so he's in first grade now, and we're, you know, everything he writes comes home, and everything he draws and everything, and to him it's all the best thing he's ever done, you know?
Yeah.
So like I put it in a box, and at the end, this is very organized of me. At the end of the year, I have pizza boxes, like empty pizza boxes, right? That I say, okay, you can fill, you can fill a pizza box, because they stack really well. But in the meantime, what it means is I have to sort of sneak stuff out and get rid of it really, like, and then I feel bad because I'm like, what if that was the best thing he ever did this year? No. What if I really did get rid of the best thing ever? Or like the one note that he made for mommy or something.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I don't know. We bought the kids all bulletin boards though, so that's like my go-to right now.
Nice.
Go put it on your bulletin board.
We have a bulletin board in the kitchen that's meant to be for, you know, art and pictures and things. And all the stuff that we put on there when we first put up the bulletin board is what's still on there.
It's like 5 layers deep now, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
How about you, Terri? What do you do with all of your...
Yeah, we have quite a lot of trophies because my daughter has been on bowling leagues and she was on the bowling team in high school. So there's some things from that. And my son has been on Little League Challenger Division teams and they get a trophy every year. So we have many years of trophies. And then my son is also involved in Special Olympics, which everybody gets a medal. So we have quite a lot of hardware here. We have on like an entertainment center that we have our TV in our living room. And the top of that has most of the trophies and also family pictures. And it's got Special Olympics ribbons hanging down the side. And my son has a whole ton of Special Olympics medals in his room. And my daughter has some plaques on her wall. So we have them distributed. But at some point, we're going to have to start rotating the stock because we can't accommodate too much more things. With the artwork, I used to always put it up on the refrigerator, on the china cabinet. I would tape things up. I have a table for, solid crafts that you can't hang on a wall that has a mishmash of things that have been made over the years. Eventually, I would rotate them out and put them in boxes. I have boxes under my bed of artwork from the very beginning.
Oh, wow.
Periodically, I would go through and weed things out and just winnow it down to the most precious. But I think I'm at that place now. So one day when I pass and my children have to clear out my house, they're going to find these caches of their family history hidden in beds and in the corners of closets and attic boxes. Because, of course, I can't get completely rid of anything, ever.
Never, ever.
Which refer back to procrastination.
No. Yeah, exactly. And decision making. It's a theme.
So remember, you can hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday, and Amanda is on all of them.
Now we bring you some things that we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. Terri, what about you? What have you got for us this week?
Well, I wish I had a great organizational tool after the conversation we just had, but instead I have something for spending lots of time on the internet, which is I don't know what you would call it. If it's an app or a website, it's like a blog post aggregator. It's something that you put all the blogs that you want to follow in it, and then it just serves up a big long list of things to read. And you can easily, flip through them, both on an iPhone app and a online. It's called, I don't know if did I say the name of it? It's called Feedly. It's at feedly.com. And I've used it for quite a long time. And as we've discussed, I often am flighty with things. I used it for a little while and I stopped, but I've been using this for years. And I really enjoyed it. It's also very easy to tweet things from it. And you can also share the things that you're following. You can have a page where you have all your stuff so other people can see it. And I highly recommend it if you're looking for some way to spend lots of time reading blogs and news and all the different things. It will take up large chunks of your day in an enjoyable way. And, for work, you could put all the ones you need to follow, all the special important things, and tweet them. So really, it's working.
Definitely.
Catherine, what about you?
I wanted to mention something that's just kind of cool. It's not a tool or something really that a lot of us can use, but Kaboom, which Terri knows from Parks and Recreation, is a play advocacy organization, and they did something called the Play Everywhere challenge, where people could submit ideas for creating spaces and time for play out in the community, and then they made some grants to some of these projects. And there's really cute things like putting a little puppet theater into a laundromat so that when kids are there with their parents doing laundry, they can play puppets, or making a illuminated running and playing track out of a sidewalk, creating cool footprints and things in a crosswalk to make crossing the street more fun, I guess. So anyway, there's a whole gallery of these things online that you can see, and it's more of a shout out than a here's something that you can use right now.
Okay.
So, kaboom.
Awesome. Well, this isn't my direct referral or recommendation because I have yet to delve deeper into it, but my family recommends this for their downtime. And everybody else around me seems to be talking about it too.
Yes.
So Stranger Things is
heard good things.
Show on Netflix. Have either of you seen that one yet?
No,
I have not, but all the reviewers I follow on Feedly liked it very much.
I know, right? And
I also understand, look sharp during the school scenes and you will see peachy folders.
Ah, very cool.
Yes.
Well, I will do that because I'm going to start on episode 2 today. And yeah, I'm going to check out this show and see what it's all about. And listeners, if you've got any thoughts on it, let us know because I'd like to hear what your thoughts are on this new show as well.
You'll have to report back.
I'm a little scared. I'm afraid it's too much like a horror movie for me. Because I'm a big baby.
I am too. But you'll tell us. You can tell us how scary it is, Nicole. Whether we should. Oh, speaking of pop culture things, Nicole, do you watch Dancing with the Stars?
I don't.
There is a Canadian who needs your votes.
Right. Really?
James Hinchcliffe, is that his name? He's a race car driver. He is Canadian. He is talking about being Canadian.
And he is saying, sorry.
Yes.
He said sorry many times.
And I understand there's a little bit of complication because ABC is only letting American people in the United States vote. They're blocking votes from outside of the U.S. So there's all sorts of tricks that people are using to get around that.
Really?
But you being a Canadian,
living in the U.S.,
you could vote. Use all the phones in your house. Use all the computers in your house. Have your kids vote. Represent for your countrymen.
We will. I'm going to check it out now. That just makes me want to watch it.
I will. Yes, you should.
He's charming too.
He is. And he's going to do very well. He's going to go a long way.
Canadians are all charming, didn't you know?
Well, also charming is Kathy Ceceri, who I interviewed for this week's interview about her book on edible inventions. So let's listen to that interview now. So Kathy, you have a new book. Tell me about it.
Well, it's from the publishers of Make Magazine, and it's called Edible Inventions. And it is a book for kids about ages 8 and up.
Mm-hmm.
And it has lots of recipes, but it also has related things you can build to cook food and sections on chemistry and things like that. So bringing science and tech into the kitchen.
Well, that's interesting. Like, can you give me an example?
Well, in the first chapter, the book was actually inspired by a trip to Maker Faire in 2010, where I saw a display for something called a pancake bot.
Oh.
And this was created by a guy, and now I'm going to blank on his name because Miguel Valenzuela.
Hey.
And so he has 3 daughters now. At the time he had 2 daughters and they were very little. And he was reading a magazine article about some kind of automated pancake machine. And they asked him what he was reading, and he told them. And one little girl turns to the other one and says, "Daddy's going to make us a pancake machine." So he decided to take that as a challenge, and using Lego Mindstorms, which is their robotics kit that has a programmable brick, he built a machine that would go back and forth over a heated griddle and make pancakes in different designs that you would program it to make. So he's since turned that into a product that he successfully launched on Kickstarter. I think he made $500,000 or something.
Wow.
You know, people investing in it.
Uh-huh.
So now you can buy a pancake bot. But I ran into him again a year ago. No, must be longer than that. At Maker Faire, and he said, I think you should do a book about food-related projects. And I said, that's a great idea, and I pitched it to Make. So anyway, getting back to what's in the book. So I asked Miguel to do a project for the book, and what I asked him to do was make a Lego pancake bot that kids could make without all the programming. So something that any Lego, savvy kid could make. So the version that we came up with, instead of being programmed, it's powered by hydraulic plungers that are basically baby medicine syringes. Like you squirt the medicine into their mouth with tubing, and if you push, and you have one syringe on either end of the tube, and if you push one end in, the other end comes out. If you can picture that.
Yeah.
So it's got a nozzle that will squirt out chocolate frosting. I think I actually used Nutella that was thinned a little bit with water. And if you put a graham cracker on it, you can move this nozzle around and draw a picture with it the same way that a real programmable 3D printer pancake bot type machine would print something. So the idea is that you're playing with food and you're also learning some of the concepts of today's technology, I guess.
So it's less recipes than modes of cooking?
Well, there's plenty of recipes in it as well. I mean, there's things you can build like that. But I have a whole chapter on how to hack your favorite foods.
Oh.
So,
like what's an example of that?
Yep, I'm looking at the table of contents right now.
I'm trying to think if there's anything that somebody who is completely not mechanical could do.
Oh, definitely. I mean, so the Hack It From Scratch chapter is, what kind of things do you normally buy prepackaged or go out to the, fast food place to get? So how to make French fries. And then, because you have to have ketchup, how to make ketchup.
Right.
And how to make pickles. And so basically everything except the hamburger. And how to make granola, how to make a pancake mix so that you can have your own pancake mix sitting on the shelf and then just add eggs and milk, throw that together.
A box of Bisquick.
Right. So, and, talking about additives and preservatives and, too much sugar and that kind of thing. And if you make all this stuff from scratch, you can control what goes in it and, possibly make it healthier if that's a goal for you.
That's interesting. That sounds like that would have been a fun thing for everybody to have over the summer.
Yeah. One of the summary projects that I made was a solar cooker.
Oh.
Out of a cardboard box.
Okay.
And basically you just take a cardboard box and make a window in it and put the food inside. So it acts like your car.
Yeah.
If you leave, a candy bar sitting on your car seat in the summer.
Yeah.
It's the same principle.
Yeah, it was when you first started talking about it, I was thinking of like the old Easy Bake ovens that were baking with a light bulb.
Yes. Yeah. I actually make a little chocolate cake as one of the recipes in the solar oven, and that was my editor's exclamation was, oh my God, it looks just like those Easy Bake oven cakes.
Oh, the old days.
Yes.
So is there like a chemistry aspect of it too, in terms of understanding how different ingredients interact with each other?
Yeah, there's a whole chapter on chemistry, and I don't know if you've ever heard of something called molecular gastronomy.
Yes.
You have? Okay.
I have. I think I've heard of it because there was a joke about it on Parks and Rec. That's where they went to a molecular bar and they were getting like alcohol as hand lotion and as blasts of light and things like that.
Yeah, things are made into foams and smoke and gels and caviar, like little gel dots and all kinds of weird things like that. Yeah, so I have a chapter on that, and it's basically, it's like the opposite of the make it from scratch. It's like all the additives that you're not putting into your homemade ketchup, you're putting into the molecular cuisine in order to make it do all those weird things. But there's a few of those ingredients that you can buy on a regular grocery shelf. So that's what I use. Nothing you have to order from Japan or something. But so I they're actually not that hard to do. So we have grape juice dots that if you put them in oh, now I'm not going to forget. Put them into soda, they will turn colors because they are pH indicators.
Wow.
Yeah, so if you put them into like a lemon soda or something. And different foams. I mean, foam is what's behind meringue cookies and marshmallows.
Right.
My favorite foam was making a watermelon lemonade and putting a tiny little bit of baking soda in it, so it gives it a nice head.
Kids would love that stuff.
Yeah. So really playing around, and the traditional making rock candy with sugar, water, and just letting it dry out. And the probably most exciting thing was making sorbet out of dry ice.
Oh, wow.
So traditionally in molecular cuisine they would use liquid nitrogen, which I thought was a step too far.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that if you drip it on you, instant frostbite. So
exactly.
I thought,
even dry ice scares me a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. But you can get dry ice fairly easily. I actually had to go to a welding store, but I think in other parts of the country you can actually get in a supermarket. So I didn't put it in the food because it was welding quality and not edible.
That probably would be a bad idea.
But you put the whatever, you could do it with ice cream too, but I wanted to do something different, so just did sorbet. So just mashed up fruit with sugar, put it in a baggie, put it on top of the dry ice for a minute, and swish it around a little bit so it doesn't freeze solid, and then you have a sorbet. So
how fun!
So fun, yeah. It was a fun book to work on.
Yeah, it sounds like it would be really fun for kids to do and for science teachers to play with also. It sounds like some good experiments there.
Yeah, I definitely think so.
So do you have another of these books in mind that you're going to do down the road?
Yeah, this is part of a whole series. The one I did last year was Paper Inventions, and so that was like origami, but how it relates to math and building structures out of rolled up newspaper, using paper in different ways than you would normally use it.
Yeah.
And then I have 2 more books coming in the series. One I'm working on now is Musical Inventions.
Nice.
And that's going to range from the kind of handmade instruments that people make in preschool, basically, up to electronic instruments. And then the one after that is going to be fabric and fiber inventions.
Okay.
So
really nice to have like really practical, hands-on, concrete ways to explain some of these concepts. Interest both to kids and to their parents who maybe didn't understand it so well either. So thank you so much for telling us about this one, and I hope you'll come back when the other ones are coming out and tell us about those as well.
I will. Thank you for having me.
And now for other things that we have done. Catherine, you want to introduce our final segment?
Yes, we were helping Kathy promote her book, and now we are going to promote ourselves. Our weekly Shameless Self-Promotion, where we direct you to some of the things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Nicole, what are you recommending today?
Oh, well, I've got another webinar that I'm putting together for my blog, theinclusiveclass.com, and I'm going to be speaking with Gail Hernandez, who is a friend and fellow teacher and mentor. And she is going to be talking about setting up inclusive classrooms for during the early years. So how you can include students who have disabilities or extra needs in sort of, kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2. So very excited to have her. And that's on Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time at www.theinclusiveclass.com.
Okay, we will have a link up to that on the show notes.
Thank you.
Good. Terri, what do you want to recommend today?
Well, I want people to see all the fine live tweeting we have been doing, Catherine.
We have been busy.
We have been busy. We, in short order, live tweeted the Rio Olympics opening ceremony, the Paralympics opening ceremony, and the Emmys. We have just been live tweeting machines. But all the live tweets we have done are collected on a Storify.com site. If you go to storify.com/mamatude, MAMATUDE, you can see all the many live tweets we have done. And I will link to that in our show notes also. Go take a look. We are quite, I think we're pretty enjoyable. I think we live tweet well. Not perhaps with the frequency that some might. It's oftentimes gaps of timing, but we do our best.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I cannot type fast enough.
Right.
Yes.
Or think of something clever fast enough. Or oftentimes I think of something and by the time I've typed it, it's too late to really post it because other things are happening.
Yeah.
But
it's a challenge.
It is.
The live tweet.
It is, but we enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I want to mention, since we were talking about routines and calendars and to-do lists, I do have a piece on Very Well about calendar tips and helpful strategies for sports parents, but it does apply to just regular parents, music parents, or whatever it is your kids are into. So that's from me at Very Well.
All righty.
Good. Well, thank you. What an informative episode we've had. Lots of
if we do say so ourselves.
That's right.
Exactly. So that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download it from iTunes. Please subscribe so you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Nicole Eridix, Terri is at Mamatude, Catherine is at About Family Fit, and Amanda is at Amanda Morin. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our blog at parentingroundabout.com and read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Morin for providing our in and out music. And take a big deep breath here. I wish everyone a great week.